Today is Thursday, December 8th. I'm Corey Emanuel, and this is CMBG News. In today's top story, ex-Penn State coach Jerry Sandusky has been jailed on new child sex abuse. Sandusky was jailed Wednesday after new child sex abuse charges were filed against him based on the claims of two new accusers, including one who says he screamed in vain for help while Sandusky attacked him in a basement bedroom. Ex-crime cases that have more alleged victims and prosecutors added to Sandusky's case with the latest charges tend to be stronger, said Lancaster County District Attorney Craig Stedman. Victims do often gather courage from the fact that others have come forward, and it is not unusual for new victims to surface when multiple sex offense violations have been filed and become public, Stedman said. The latest accusers are the 9th and 10th alleged victims described in grand jury report that claimed Sandusky befriended and then molested boys he met through his Second Mile charity for troubled youth. A grand jury document released Wednesday echoed an earlier report saying that Sandusky gave the boys gifts while also making sexual advances towards them. I look at it first, and he was just a nice guy. Like he went to church every weekend, his kids would come over every once in a while, and after a while, he got used to me and stuff and started getting further and further wanting to touchy-feely. The 9th accuser, who is now 18, told the grand jury. He said he was 11 or 12 when he first met Sandusky in 2004, and Sandusky took him to Penn State football games and gave him gifts and money and sexually assaulted him over a period of years. The Eurozone may be facing $200 billion in loans. A European Union diplomat said Eurozone leaders are likely to agree to give the International Monetary Fund $200 billion in bilateral loans to use as a firewall in the debt crisis. The money would come from the central banks of the 17 Euro nations, not the governments, which are already highly indebted. The diplomat said some of the money had already been promised to the IMF in 2009, but has not been called upon yet. He did not say how much of the $200 billion had already been promised. The diplomat was speaking on condition of anonymity ahead of a crucial summit of EU leaders later Thursday. He says the Eurozone hopes non-Eurozone countries will contribute an extra $67 billion. 5 people died after a tourist helicopter flying from Las Vegas crashed near the Hoover Dam. The pilot of the helicopter and all 4 passengers died in the crash, which took place approximately 12 miles east of Las Vegas-McCarran International Airport. The helicopter is part of a fleet of aircrafts belonging to Sundance Helicopters, according to the Park Service. Emergency personnel on the scene reported there were no survivors. Names of the deceased are being withheld pending notification of the next of kin. Sundance Helicopters is cooperating fully with the FAA and the NTSB in the investigation. Former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich was sentenced to 14 years in prison Wednesday and fined $20,000 for what U.S. Attorney Patrick Fitzgerald referred to as a criminal corruption crime spree at the time of Blagojevich's arrest 3 years ago. Blagojevich was convicted of corruption charges, including trying to trade President Obama's vacated U.S. Senate seat in exchange for money or favors. He will have to serve a minimum of nearly 12 years under federal rules that say the defendants must complete 85% of their sentences. He doesn't have to report to federal prison until February 16th. Here is a clip following his sentencing.
Lawyers here. Hey.
Hey, Governor.
We good? Aaron, you there? Lauren? Okay, I'm not going to say anything about anything except something very, very brief.
We're not taking any questions.
Rudyard Kipling, in his poem If, among the things he wrote was, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, Patty and I, and especially me, this is a time to be strong. This is a time to fight through adversity. This is a time for me to be strong for my children, be strong for Patty. And this is also a time for Patty and me to get home so we can explain to our kids, our babies, Amy and Annie, what happened, what all this means, and where we're going from here. So we're going to keep fighting on through this adversity, and see you soon.
Are you willing to apologize to the voters of Illinois?
tears streaming down her face regarding the adversity they have been facing as a family. We here at CMBG News want to know if you think Blagojevich was sentenced appropriately for his crime. Let us hear from you on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Cook Morton Broadcasting. Jon Corzine returns to court today. Jon Corzine, the former U.S. Senator and New Jersey Governor who presided over the collapse of the commodities brokerage MF Global, says he cannot explain what happened to many hundreds of millions of dollars that the firm was holding for customers. In testimony prepared for delivery to Congress Thursday, Corzine said he was stunned to learn shortly before the firm sought bankruptcy protection at the end of October that MF Global could not account for the money. Regulators pushed MF Global into bankruptcy court on Halloween after an effort to sell the troubled firm unraveled. The firm is now in liquidation. The firm was required to keep clients' money separated from its own, but more than $1.2 billion may be missing. The trustee overseeing the firm's liquidation said last month. The FBI, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and other authorities are now investigating and have had difficulty figuring out what happened to the missing funds. Meanwhile, the firm's collapse has become a major disruption for customers and others who depended on MF Global. Corzine's testimony is his first public statement on the demise of MF Global since he resigned as chief executive of the firm more than a month ago. The bodies of 274 U.S. troops were dumped in a landfill. The U.S. Air Force dumped the cremated partial remains of at least 274 troops in a landfill before halting the secretive practice in 2008. The procedure was never formally authorized or disclosed to senior Pentagon officials who conducted a review of the cremation policies of Dover Air Base, the main point of entry for U.S. war dead, in 2008, the Washington Post said. Nor was the dumping ever disclosed to the families of the fallen troops who had authorized the military to dispose of the remains in a respectful and dignified manner, the Post said, citing Air Force officials. The newspaper quoted officials as saying that a precise count of the remains disposed of at a Virginia landfill would require searching through the records of 6,300 troops whose remains have passed through the Dover since 2001. An additional group of 1,762 remains, which could not undergo DNA testing because they were badly damaged or burned, were also disposed of in this manner, the Post said, citing the Air Force. Well, this year the Pope is putting a new spin on a old tradition, rather. He will be switching on the Christmas lights via his Sony tablet. The Christmas tree in Gubbio, actually a display of lights 450 meters wide and 750 meters tall, is the largest in the world and has been on display since 1981. This year, Pope Benedict XVI will be pressing the button as a sign of universal peace and brotherhood. The Pope will activate the illumination from his apartments in the Vatican Apostolic Palace, via a Sony Tablet S. He will touch the screen of a Sony tablet with the Android operating system, which via the internet will transmit the command to switch on the electric current to the tree. It is unclear at this time why the Pope chose the Sony tablet over Apple's iPad. However, speculators are saying it is because of the customizable nature of the Android operating system. Pope Benedict XVI is also the first pope in history to ever tweet. Overnight snowfall blanketed Memphis, Tennessee, and the Mid-South. Thick, wet snow fell throughout the Mid-South early Wednesday morning, causing schools in outlying areas to close. The snow started falling in the early overnight hours, accumulating up to 4 inches in some areas. The National Weather Service says the weather has not been unusual and that the average temperatures have been higher than last year's. Alec Baldwin leaves Twitter after bumping heads with American Airlines. The actor has shut down his Twitter account to focus on filming NBC's comedy 30 Rock. He did, however, apologize, sort of, to his fellow passengers. "It was never my intention to inconvenience anyone with my issue with a certain flight attendant," Mr. Baldwin wrote. Mr. Baldwin claimed he had been singled out by an airline employee for using his phone to complete messages after the late-running plane had closed its doors and was still waiting for takeoff. He was also playing the game Words with Friends, created by Zynga, who showed support for his persistence in finishing his game. The cell phone belonging to missing Orlando mother Michelle Parker has been recovered by law enforcement. Family members confirmed Wednesday evening. Lauren Erickson, Parker's sister, said investigators showed the family the phone but did not tell them where it was located. Erickson also said that the phone is in very good condition. The family was asked to come to Orlando Police Department headquarters to identify the iPhone 4 as belonging to Parker. Erickson said she, her mother, and stepfather identified the phone through a photograph. It's her phone. It's in the case that she had. It's her phone. The 33-year-old disappeared on November 17th after the airing of an episode of The People's Court on which she and ex-fiancé Dale Smith Jr. appeared to settle a dispute over a $5,000 engagement ring. Police named Smith 40 as the prime suspect in her disappearance last week, but he has not been charged with any crime. Well, you're now up to date on today's headline news. We'll be right back here on CMBG News after this short break. And welcome back to CMBG News. I'm Corey Manuel. A U.S. citizen was jailed for 2.5 years on Thursday for insulting the Thai monarchy, prompting the U.S. Embassy to speak out at the severity of the sentence and say it supported the freedom of expression everywhere in the world. Lurpong, a 55-year-old Thai man, had pleaded guilty in October to using the internet to disseminate information that insulted the monarchy. Charges stemming from material posted on his blog in the United States, where he has citizenship. He was arrested in May during a visit to Thailand. Thailand has the world's toughest magistrate of laws protecting its monarch. The number of cases has jumped in recent years, and sentences have become harsher, coinciding with a period of political turbulence in the country. Critics say the law is being abused to discredit activists and politicians. The Obama administration's top health official stopped plans Wednesday to let the Plan B morning after pill move onto drugstore shelves next to the condoms, overruling scientists at the Food and Drug Administration. Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius decided that young girls shouldn't be able to buy the pill on their own, saying she was worried about confusing 11-year-olds. It was the latest twist in a nearly decade-long push for easier access to pills that can prevent pregnancy after unprotected sex, and one with election year implications. The move shocked women's health advocates, a key part of President Barack Obama's Democratic base, as well as major doctors groups that argue over-the-counter sales could lower the nation's high number of unplanned pregnancies. Secretary Sebelius took this action after careful review, Obama spokesman Nick Papa said. As the secretary has stated, Plan B will remain available to all women who need it, and the president supports the secretary's decision. Plan B will stay behind pharmacy counters, available without a prescription only to those 17 and older who can prove their age. Moving over to entertainment news, Lindsay Lohan's Playboy cover has been leaked. Lindsay Lohan's Playboy cover isn't out officially for another week, but the cover has made its way to the web already. In the picture, Lindsay Lohan is sitting on a chair in the shape of the iconic Playboy logo, covering her private parts. The headline is Lindsay. The actress is set to unveil the entire spread on the December 15th episode of The Ellen DeGeneres Show. 96-year-old actor Harry Morgan, who appeared in more than 100 films but was best known for his television roles, including Colonel Sherman Potter in the pop series MASH, died at his Los Angeles home. Morgan won an Emmy Award in 1980, honoring the best in U.S. TV for his work on the anti-war comedy series MASH, playing the upstanding commanding officer of a U.S. Mobile Army surgical hospital during the Korean War. Morgan appeared in MASH from 1975 to 1983. He also appeared as Officer Bill Gannon on television crime series Dragnet from 1967 to 1970. Morgan cried during a 1983 news conference after taping the final episode of MASH, which became the most watched show in the history of U.S. television. He told reporters, "I'm feeling very sad and sentimental. I don't know if MASH made me a better actor, but I know it made me a better human being." Our condolences go out to the Morgan family. Bernie Fine won't be charged. The DA said criminal charges would have been filed had the statute of limitations not expired. The only way further action can be taken at this point is if another accuser were to come forward. As for Lori Fine, Bernie's wife, she will not be charged for her suspected involvement in the case either. She was seen smiling when she left the courtroom, but when asked for comment, shut the door in reporters' faces. Moving over to sports news now, the NBA is back and busier than ever. To squeeze in 66 games in 124 days, the upcoming NBA schedule is packed from start to finish and filled with more quirks than usual. Each team will play 3 games in 3 days, at least, and 11 teams will do it twice. There are games every day from December 25th through April 26th, including the night of the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship, when the NBA usually goes dark. The NBA has released its 231-game national TV schedule on ESPN, ABC, TNT, and NBA TV, which is subject to change later in the season. Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney is ramping up his presidential campaign in a big way, just as Newt Gingrich emerges as a serious threat for the Republican nomination. Over the next week, Romney's cross-country fundraising trips will cease and will be replaced by a more rapid-fire campaign, which will include TV ads, media interviews, and more hand-to-hand politicking in early voting Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Florida, and Romney says a couple of other states. "We're just starting," the former Massachusetts governor said Tuesday before jetting off to court donors. "We're making our closing argument. You'll see me campaigning aggressively." He's also starting to increase his appearances on Fox News Channel, watched by many GOP primary voters, as he has agreed to appear on Fox News Sunday on December 18th, his first appearance on Sunday, a Sunday news show, in more than a year and a half. With all the controversy surrounding banks and those pesky fees, how would you feel about avoiding ATM fees? It's an innovative concept, a free ATM that not only dispenses cash without those nasty $2 and $3 fees, but dismisses video ads while you wait for your money to come out. Free ATM NYC debuted an ATM in the Williamsburg section of Brooklyn, New York, with a unique twist. It will dispense cash to any bank customer and skip the fee as long as the user agrees to watch a video advertisement from a third-party company, which is covering the fees users would normally incur by using the machine. You may be a captive audience for advertisers, but at least you won't be paying fees to get your own money. The owner of Free ATM NYC, 25-year-old Clinton Townsend, has ambitious plans for the concept. Eventually, he wants to bring the Free ATM onto the turf of big banks right in the heart of New York City. First, though, the company plans to roll out free ATMs in underdeserved areas in Harlem and Queens, where fees average up to $3 per transaction. Needless to say, make sure you check with your own bank to avoid any possible convenience fees. We want to know your view here at CMBG News. We now have an online account that allows you to send breaking news, pictures, and video directly to us when you see it happening. It's called MyView. The email address is myview@cmbg.biz. Stay with CMBG News. We'll be right back after this short break.